Hi everybody, it's Lace here, and this video I'm going to just share some of my personal feelings and maybe a little bit of that old Roman saying of caveat emptor, buyer beware. Um, right now in R31, and this is prior to final wipe, pricing set a certain way. It's kind of been a standard that's evolved over time. Now, people are going to be willing to spend, say, 30,000 on XXX item now because they know that their gold's not going to be saved. When we approach the final wipe and it comes into, I expect people to be more frugal with what they buy. And because of this, I believe, and I'm not an economics major, I believe we will see prices start to decline because people are going to price them at what they think they were getting for them prior to final wipe, but they're going to find that there's going to be more stingy people out there, especially brand new players that, at their pledge level, they don't have a house or they don't have, a piece of land, and they're going to be wanting to save for that. So they might forego that armor upgrade to save for the land. So I want to bring that to everybody's attention in this. And again, this is just my personal thoughts on how things are going to be and how I think things are a little bit overpriced right now in some areas. So if you don't want to listen to my personal opinions, you probably should just turn off the video. So I'm going to click on this public vendor here in Owl's Head. This is a live data stream from, I think this is 713. And these are all the things that are for sale. Beetle carapace. This thing, ever since, I don't know if it was R29 when there was that huge exploit and 550 million gold came into play and then was given out, and the prices just went up hugely. So it used to be around 1,000. Now you can see what it's at. 10 for 20,000. That's a pretty good price. Really, that's a more realistic price. Beetle carapace comes from the cotton plants, which are so painstakingly hard to harvest. For some reason, they have a much slower harvest timer. They yield fewer things, but that's part of why agriculture supplements it. Now, when agriculture was first implemented, you just had to, buy the little square or rectangular or long rectangular thing and then plant your seeds, and you could continue to harvest them. They've taken it away where after you harvest it, you're going to have to replant. Right now, the interface for that being done easily is not there, so it's very painstaking to even harvest cotton on your own land. It's more painstaking to go out in the world and harvest it because it's slower. Now there are tools like the engraved tools that you can, upgrade your sickle to do it a little faster or whatever, but it's, it's like that triangle: faster, better, cheaper. Yeah, you're going to get 2 out of the 3. You're never going to get all 3. So it depends on what you're aiming for as to what tool you're going to want to have equipped. And we will cover, some of the engraved tools in another video. So that's just talking about beetle carapace. 3,500. Yeah, I've been charging 3 grand or so, pretty much all this release because people are willing to pay it. Again, what items value is what other people are willing to pay. I just think it's really high. But that's just my personal opinion. So if we move down, so now we've got these bronze ingots and copper ingots, and if I just looked at ingots, searching in here, well, if I spelled it right and stuff, and there we go. So these are all the ingots. Now the thing about buying ingots is you are not going to get the extra added pool experience from crafting them yourself. So while it might be convenient to buy something, you're actually losing out. Because if I hit K for skills, well, I have to get out of this. Hold on. If I hit K for skills, and I go into my smelting, oh, that's mining. My bad. Hold on. Smelting. If I go into smelting, every time I smelt something, this pool down here is going to increase. Now it's only like 20 points, but it's how I'm gaining experience that I can then use in my actual production of, something made with ingots. The same thing would be true if I was using, what do we got, textiles. If I was spinning my cotton up, then when I go to do tailoring, I'm getting a little bit of built into this pool. Now, of course, the biggest way to increase this pool is to actually go out and harvest. And what you gain by, each tier, skull area that we can call it, is, it's like right now, and again, these are just, base values. It's 100 in skull 1, 500 in tier 5. if I look at how my actual gathering is, let's find our gathering forestry. I don't know these symbols off the top of my head. What is that? Fishing? Where is my gathering? Forestry. Wow, I'm just having a brain fart. Field dressing. Foraging. Okay, it was there. I just kept messing up. So we talked about this a little bit in the combat things. So here we can see I'm using 235 points of experience to up my foraging. If I look at it, that's because I've been training my swift gathering because it's super slow. And I'm also training my proficiency, and I'm training my meticulous. Turning these things off and on will reduce the, the overall experience that's sucked in. So if I go to tier 5 and harvest, that's 500 that I would get. I'm burning half of it. So like 250 will build into my pool. And building up this pool is then going to help me advance the actual crafting part. I know this sounds overly complex. It's really not once you get a handle on it. And if you want to, private message me and, get a few more ideas about how I think it works and stuff, that's no problem. You can do it on the regular forums at Lace, and I'll be happy to answer those questions. I know we've kind of gotten a little off track, going into the skills and stuff. But again, the actual harvesting and what you're gaining from it and stuff plays into how the economy works. So if somebody's already made the ingots for me, I didn't get those skill ups. Well, I didn't get the skill ups, one, from my smelting, and secondly, I didn't gain the experience into my pool for when I go to try to work blacksmithing. So while it may be convenient, I try to avoid the pre-production things because somebody else just got that experience and then they're trying to sell me their experience for a finished product, which if I'd done it myself, the outcome's different. I hope I explained that well. Going back to hitting K again, I just wanted to go over this. When I said the 200 and I looked at foraging, or actually when I went to, what was it, smelting, and I said, smelting is at this, and I'm gaining 20 points per thing. That's because I have it turned off. We did cover this in the combat, but I probably should just highlight it in the skills. There's maintaining, there's training. Training's going to suck far more experience than I would gain from making one ingot of something. And then there's unlearning. Well, I don't want to do that because I like to keep my abilities up a little bit there. And then there's the not training. So I probably should have this at maintaining so it's not sucking down over time. There is skill decay. I can't tell you what that rate is, but I just wanted to cover that when I said that I was gaining 20 points, and again, that's the current value. Every time I make an ingot, it's 20 of the basics. That's copper and iron. I think when you start making like white iron and meteoric, it might be a little more than 20. But also when you first start out, like the very first 20 ingots you make, it's even more than 20 experience per tick that you get. But it does diminish over time to where basically you're going to be down to 20 after you've crafted so many. So I just wanted to just touch on that, just to clarify that so I wasn't given false information that it's always 20. If it's turned on and you're training it, obviously it's training, which means it's draining. Training equals draining. And that's not a bad thing because you are learning that skill to get this up. Like at 62.1, 30 levels, and we kind of talked about this in another video, and 30 levels, there's my expectation of what it's going to be. Smelting is probably not a good example, probably more of the combat things. Let's see if we can look at one of those that I have something turned on. So this one's at 73. Oh, maybe it doesn't show the 30. Oh, no, there it is. At 93, I can see now I can have 5 of these in my bar. The range is still the same. The cooldown's still the same. The physical damage has gone from 1 to 4 to 2 to 4. And my chance to knock down something's gone from 48.3 to 53.3. So it's the same thing with crafting. Obviously, the better you get at something, the more success rate or the more chance to possibly do that crit where you get the extra durability added to it. That may change over time. I can't really show that on here. You'll see that on a crafting table. But being able to crit things and add that extra durability, now that durability is such a huge factor in how often you replace your armor and how things are going to be priced, You'll find that sometimes buying something with more durability is going to save you money in the long run, and sometimes just buying the cheap stuff is going to work better for you. So it's a little bit out of the scope of this and talking about pricing and stuff, but it's just some points of value to bring up that you should keep in mind and value. And really, that is the whole focus of this, is just talking about my thoughts on how things are valued. So continuing on with value, I'm going to click this public vendor again, and we're going to go back in, and my dog's going to bark because she knows that she can disturb me this way. Come on, man. I'm not going to cut this out because she's just being a goofball. Anyway, copper ore, this is a raw resource, and we talked a little bit about the beetle carapace. Copper ore. Basically, I'm in Owl's Head, and pretty near here is a mine. Now, I can get, if my mining skill is around 60 to 80, I have a decent tool equipped, my Swift is up decently, I can get these 50 ores in about 1/2 hour or so. So 11,000 for a half hour work might not be a good buy for you. If you've, overly cash flush, great. I like to say 100 per item. So to me, and that's going to be more for the iron. For some reason, copper seems to be pricing higher, even though it's the same chance. If you go to the same mine here, around Owl's Head, you have the same rate, but for whatever reason, copper's creeped up in value. It does have a little bit better base stats. If you look at the bonuses, if you create a suit out of all iron, a suit out of all copper is a little bit better, but actually in mining it, it's the same rate. You're going to basically come out with an even amount of iron and copper if you go to Owl's Head Nest Mine. That's not right. It's Owl's Nest Mine. Yeah, Owl's Nest Mine. Anyway, you're going to come out with the same rate. So you're getting copper and iron at the same rate, but people are charging more for copper because it gives a little bit better stats. It did not take them any longer to get this. They're just raising the price. So 100 a piece, 5,000. I would say I would only pay right now, and this is as of R31, about 5,000 to possibly 7,500. I think this is overpriced. I'm probably showing some people's names here, and I'm sorry if I'm calling you out. Again, what things are worth or what people are willing to buy. And if people are willing to buy it for that price, great. Again, I think there's going to be a downtick in what people are willing to buy once we go to persistence. Okay, so next up, let's look at this iron binding. Okay, to make an iron binding, you need 1 iron ingot. To make 1 iron ingot effectively, you need 2 iron ores and then 12 metal scraps from salvaging a weapon. So if you think about it that way, this took 13 ingots to make, plus the fuel, the cost of the mold, which is negligible, but 13. So 13 ingots, that's 26 ores. So that's if you say 100 a piece, that's 2,600. This is not a bad price. However, once again, because it's pre-made, I didn't get the experience in making this. Therefore, and iron binding is actually a blacksmithing skill. It's not a smelting skill. So I've just cost myself skill ups in blacksmithing by buying that. It's not a bad price, but I've lost the skill ups in doing it and buying the pre-made item. So again, just caveat emptor, you're buying things, even if it's at a good price, you might be crippling yourself. If we go down to here, now we got some iron ore. I said 100 a piece, so I'd say 1,000. I'd say 20. I'd say 5,000. These to me are high priced. Just based on the amount of time that I know it took that player to gather that stuff, it's a high price to me. I'm not saying that if you're, it's always time over money, and if it's better for you to pay the extra money and then charge your clients more for the finished product, hey, go for it. I will do it myself. Metal scrap. This is what helps take iron ore into an ingot, or any of the iron or copper, which are then used to create the more specific white iron and stuff. It used to be around 1,000 of these for 10,000. The prices started to creep in this revision. Again, if I go out and hunt, I can get hunting and doing salvaging is going to be based on two things. Salvaging will help build your blacksmith skill. So if you're going to be a blacksmith, you should go out there and hunt your own and salvage your own because it's going to build your blacksmithing skill. Secondly, there's two different ways to get metal scrap. You have to look at the weight of the item you're looting, and it's very easy for us to hit take all the time, but sometimes you need to make distinction. There's these things that are like hammers. They weigh 10 pounds apiece. Now, if your carry capacity is 250 pounds and you've got 80 pounds of other stuff on you, think about that. How much are you going to really carry? You're going to carry what, 80, 250? What did I say, 80, 250? That's 170. So that's going to be 17 hammers, and I'm done, and I have to go back to town and salvage them. Now, salvaging 17 hammers at a very low rate of success, where I'm not going to get a max quantity of things back, is not going to be very time effective. For me, it would be much better to find things that are weigh 2 pounds, so I get more iterations of salvaging. I may not get, I don't know, a hammer might give me 36 metal scraps, and a long sword might only at max give me 16, if I've salvaged really well and, built that skill. But over time, to me, I find it more effective to loot the 2-pound weight items and salvage those. In basically a half hour at a salvaging skill. Let's see what mine is like. I don't think mine's that high. What is that? It's going to be blacksmithing. Where is that at? No, that's gathering, smelting. Is it in there? No. Where is my salvaging? Oh, that's right. It's going to be here. So my salvaging is only at 60. So using that rate, a salvage rate of, proficiency of 60, if I go out for about a half hour, I tend to get, that 150 pounds or whatever. And that's hunting in a highly dense humanoid type area. If you're hunting in a very animal heavy area, obviously it's going to take you longer if there's fewer men, but I try to, if I want to go out and, salvage weapons, I'm going into an area that has a lot of humanoid people in it, and typically not bow people, because I'm looking for metal. And it'll take me about a half hour, and at 60, I think I net, in a half hour, I net about 1,200 to 1,500 metal scrap. So, yeah, so is it worth it to you to buy 1,500 metal scrap? Where do they go? 1,500 in a half hour? That's a huge markup. That, again, my personal opinion. I'm not trying to rag on anybody selling anything for any price, because again, the price is what people are willing to pay. If people are willing to pay, 10,000 per, 1,000 scraps, great, but you can get those 1,000 scraps pretty easy in like a half hour. So time versus money, that whole triangle, that thing comes into play. Okay, so I'm back in here, and I see this raw cotton, 45 for 800. That's a pretty good price. I don't know what I'm going to make out of it, but it's just a good price, so I'm buying it while we're here. You get back into the vendor. We were down to the R's. Suet suddenly has gotten out of hand. It used to be 250 a piece. I don't know what's going on. Nobody's killing wolves or something, because suet is just, and this is just in R31. I don't even know what to say about that. It's just absolutely ridiculous how suet's gone up. Tungsten used to not be used for anything, but now it's combined with, I believe it's 10 or possibly even 10 and or nickel to take that iron ore or copper ore and turn it into the meteoric or the white iron. The tungsten comes automatically when you're harvesting the copper and iron. So if you're actually out there actively mining, you're going to get this, and you probably should never need to buy it again. I think, look at that. That's pretty high priced. To me, again, personal opinion, you're never going to see me buying tungsten, because if I need it, I will just go out and harvest for 15 minutes to an hour, and I will have more tungsten than I need. There used to also be zinc, and zinc was great because you could just get it and just sell it because it had no purpose. They've disappeared the zinc from the thing, so it's not just a sell to vendor for a little bit of money. So I think that kind of covers just going over a vendor. One of the next things to talk about is economic regions or economic zones. And the way these are defined is by control points. And we've kind of talked about this before in other videos, but let's just dive in a little bit deeper about how that affects the economy. What these are going to do is, so like right now I'm in Owl's Head. Right now it's kind of a little bit of a hub because from the old days when there weren't that many zones and stuff. And so a lot of people trade here because of it. But if I went to a public vendor, I don't know, maybe even Brittany and some of the Brittany public vendors, or if I go to, I don't know, something way far out, maybe like Exeter, that's way out off, Elysium and stuff like that, the prices might be drastically different. So as a new player, you're going to have to learn that you're going to need to run around and discover where you can find either public vendors or even the private vendors. Sometimes because the private vendors don't require a listing fee, when you list something on the public vendor, it's only there for 7 days, and you have to pay, I think it's like 10% of whatever you listed it for. So if you list something for $10,000, you automatically already lost $1,000. So that could, increase inflated prices on a public vendor like we're looking at. But if somebody had listed that same item, instead of charging $10,000 here, they might charge $9,000 at home because they didn't lose that $1,000. And secondly, they don't have to, after 7 days, relist it. They might even reduce it further. So keep that in mind. Public vendors are not your one-all be-all. Being able to go around and, like, if I just skip around here, I've got names turned off. My dog's barking. She just really doesn't want me to shoot this video tonight. Anyway, if I go around, names are turned off. This guy says empty hands. He doesn't have anything because I've checked him a few times. He truly is empty. But going around to the actual vendors, like, let's see, there's a guy, and they all kind of look the same right now. They might get some more characterization, but there's a guy, there's a vendor guy. So taking the time to travel around towns, POTs, NPCs, PRTs, and look, this guy's got stuff. That's how you can find the bargains and the deals. It's going to take time. So we're back to the triangle. Time, money, value, or cost, So keep those things in mind. That's what you're going to find. I think that's it for that. One last thing to mention is, as we went around and we looked at these vendors' names, sometimes as a courtesy, if you don't have anything for sale, it's nice to say empty, like that one guy said, empty hands McGee, to say nothing here or something. That really turns down the frustration of people that are running around trying to find things. Stuff, not very descriptive. If I'm looking for ore, I'm probably not going to click on stuff, because that doesn't really tell me what the guy's selling. If I come over here, this guy's named Crafter's Corner, so I'm going to assume he's got some raw supplies. This guy has ore and more. He's telling me what they have for sale. That's a good marketing strategy, when you have your own little personal vendor up there, and it really makes me as a buyer more apt to check you on occasion as I come by. If it just says stuff, I've probably looked at you one time and I'm never going to look at your stuff again because it's stuff. It's not telling me what I want to see. I think like brass lamp here. What do we got? Shop brass lamp after white. Cheap arms and weapons. Not super descriptive, but it's better than stuff. And if your vendor was stuff, I'm sorry. I don't mean to call you out. I just think I think if you want to market your goods, it's a better way to name your things more conveniently as to what you have. So this guy's got bows, houses, and moors. This guy says ore trader. They're telling me what they have. They're going to make me stop and look at them. This guy has, let's see what we got. New signs. He's got signs. Oh, this guy's got a nudie bar and teleport scrolls. Well, he's telling me he's got teleport scrolls, so that tells me what he has. This guy's got obsidian crowns. Great. This guy tells me he's the junk man. Okay, well, if I'm just looking for cheap deco, maybe I want to go there. This guy says recall. This guy says stock your friends with something. So, you can be creative with it. Oh, look, that's my vendor. Lace's handcrafted gear. Yes, that tells me exactly what I'm selling. Crafting supplies and deco. All right, what do we got over here? Gulf Coast imports. That doesn't really tell me what's there. But again, so try to market yourself better. It will relieve stress levels of people like me that are trying to shop around. You know, if I know what's on there, I'm more apt to stop than if it just says stuff. I'm just like, probably check you one time and I'll never look at you again. And if you're the ones that had that, I'm sorry, but hopefully this is a tip and trick. So take care, everybody. Happy hunting and be safe.